Hi, friends. I guess there it is, just 30 seconds late, according to the best U.S. time. um, Welcome to our Capricorn pre-full moon webinar. And what I've done is I've put in the chat box 2 upcoming events, and you can copy from the chat box if you wish. One is for the Capricorn full moon, exact full moon service meditation broadcast, starting at least here tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. Greenwich Meridian Time, GMT. And then rather later in the early morning of December 26th, the second day of Christmas, at least here in Europe, and it will still be later Christmas Day for you in the U.S., but definitely the second day for those in the South Pacific, Australia, New Zealand. I'm going to be making an experiment to stream for the first time the Capricorn Solar Fire Ritual Meditation. It's a meditation ritual with music and imagery and songs and oratory. So it will be a approximately 2-hour meditation. And, if everything works well technically, it will all come through and we can all have a deep meditative experience on the energies of the soul's travel through the sign Capricorn from the very rude, early, hardened days when the soul is still very young, all the way up to some of the final initiations, at least the third initiation, and somewhat beyond that. So it takes all of us in the experience we will have and are having in Capricorn through the entire gamut of the soul's encounter with these energies. So much is happening in the world right now. Obviously, we're in great crisis, and we do need the supernal light shining upon us and illuminating our consciousness so we can help illumine the consciousness of others and help direct humanity through these perilous times. We have the whole issue of where the Earth is going in terms of its warming, obviously an initiatory phase involving the base of the spine of the planet itself, but man is certainly adding to that. The whole climate change conference has been of great importance. We have religious ideology exploding in various places of the planet, and there's a need to balance that with the type of illumination which the mystical and occult consciousness can give. And we are, to a great degree, each in our own place, responsible for helping to spread that kind of light. And here we have the solstice, and following that, Christmas with the full moon on Christmas Day. I knew it was rare, but my son wrote me and told me, okay, it hasn't happened for 40 years. So just taking what he said at face value, it's quite a rare thing for Christmas and the full moon in Capricorn to occur at the same time. So we have some very powerful energies that are descending and we have to receive them properly and direct them properly. The banner here shows the color green, which is much associated with Capricorn and with Saturn. Also, the color black is associated with Saturn. And the rulers here are Saturn, and Venus, the orthodox, the esoteric, and finally the hierarchical ruler Venus, which indicates the illumined consciousness at the point of transfiguration. There's so much about the earth that is trying to be as Venus now is, and there's so much about the personality which is trying to be as the soul now is. So if we can fulfill the law under Saturn, climb the mount of karma, do our duty, fulfill our dharma with exactitude, the door to enlightenment, to transfiguration will be open to us, and we will really step into the Venusian, well, a small aspect of the Venusian consciousness. That is what we aim for. We won't be so much the two-horned goat as is shown in this Jafra illustration, as we will be the unicorn, white and one-pointed. It's the horse, the aspirational sixth-ray horse of the personality, the astral body, which has been transformed into the initiate, white and one-pointed, white being the synthesis of all colors. And we will have, well, the mountain here is a little small, but we will have scaled the lordly mountain and left behind Father Time, as it were, because time and space, the illusion of time and space, will be overcome. We will be born again into the world of the soul, and the aged personality will become the little child in the world of the soul. Well, really, by the time we reach that point of transfiguration, we are considered to be the rich young man, but still a babe in a way when it comes to the higher states of consciousness. So we are all striving to achieve in our consciousness and in our realization the sun atop the mountain of transfiguration, which is why, the moon is in detriment. The personality elementals are inhibited, rightfully inhibited, by the time we reach this transfiguration point. And by the time we reach the fourth initiation, the moon is symbolically in Scorpio and falls, and that is the entire repudiation of the lower personality as an entity in itself, but it is supposed to, of course, reflect the great solar orb as we experience the very first of the solar initiations. The initiations before that time have been initiations of the threshold. We're coming up to our 30th University of the Seven Ray Institute conference. 30 years of conferences. And our theme, this being a 9-year, 2016, 9 being the number of completion and the number of initiations, our theme is initiation. With the title adopted from a series that our colleague Robert Borrell has made on initiation. He called it Initiation Fire from Heaven. And that is the title that we are using. The fire from heaven is very intense in this heavenly sign, Capricorn, also a very deep earthly sign as well. It's the diamond, it's the height and the abyss as well. And as DK has said, the finest and the best of human beings are born in this sign, but also the worst from the point of view of materialism. So it is one of those signs. Some research was done by our colleague Philip Lindsay, and he showed that so many of the Nazi characters had their moon in Capricorn, over excessive proportion with the moon in Capricorn, including Hitler and others. Doesn't mean that you're like them if you have the moon in Capricorn, but they fell into that type of dense materialism. So we have to rise into the light sublime in this great sign, and we do that by fulfilling our duty and leaving not one thing that should be fulfilled behind, because karma, which has so much to do with this sign, is really the unfinished business of the past, dragged forward into the future for completion, and we want to be exacting in our completion of our tasks, so that in fact we can ascend as high as we can go and then descend again before our next ascent. As usual, Francis Donald has some beautiful images. Here's an image of initiation. The initiate is sitting upon the lion's, what should we call it? His skin, the lion's skin, meaning he has overcome the king of beasts. The king of beasts has two eyes, and the unicorn blinds the king of beasts with his horn, and the result is the single eye, which sees unitively. Venus is atop the neighboring pyramid, and the mudra here represents the heights and the depths, the crown center, or even the monad, and then the base of the spine, and the spiral motion that travels from the bottom to the top. You notice that actually we're in sort of a, what does Francis call it, a pyramidion, something of that nature. Let's see here. Yes, pyramidion. And it is the capstone, only it's a transparent capstone of the pyramid. We often wonder why the capstone is missing, and there are many theories about that of which it was made and why it may be missing, but apparently in the ancient initiatory days it was not. The importance of the solar eye is here. The two eyes that we sometimes meet, at least one eye at the fourth initiation, and the overcoming of the dualities is present with the two eyes in the sun. And here is the eye from Formula 1, the eye that stands midway. There are some interesting Egyptian characters here. Let's see, I think the crocodile god is here, Sobek. Let's see here. Yes, the crocodile-headed god, Sobek. The crocodile, the goat, and the unicorn depict three stages of man's spiritual unfoldment in Capricorn. And Sobek, with its two horns, and Uraeus and solar disk, carries attributes of all of these stages. And thus he hastens the dissolution of the outgrown form. When linked with Heru, the falcon-headed principle of spiritual ascension, and here we have the falcon here carrying the Ankh towards the initiation moment and process. The Venus is so important in this initiation, which is ruled by the fifth ray, particularly the transfiguration initiation. So the falcon-headed principle of spiritual ascension, he becomes a potent transformer, that is, Sobek does, a primal force needed in the preparation for initiation. So we have Sobek and Heru here depicted as a descending falcon surrounded by the constellation Capricorn and offering the Ankh, which of course is here is the constellation Capricorn, which very interestingly is in the form of a triangle. Archetypally, it's most associated with the third initiation, the triangle being the archetypal three-sided, at least flat figure, and having everything to do with Saturn, and finally the ascension into the solar initiations. There's much here that Francis has written, and it is all of value, and we'd like to get these letters in which he describes this to you. Saturn crowns a mandala of 7 circles and their interconnecting lines of force representing the 7 planets. As Saturn rules Capricorn both exoterically and esoterically, you will find it poised above the mudra within the field of green, emanating its lines of force in all directions. And here it's quite small though, but you see it above the mudra, and this is the planet Saturn. I suppose if we made this very, very big, you would see this. And I know Francis is entirely willing for you to have these images and what he has said about them. And I think it will be very useful. Let's see, maybe a little bit further. The image of Horus embossed upon the robe of the initiate radiates within a sun that has 51 lines of force. And the great sides of the Great Pyramid are set at 51, 51. Amazing. So here are the 51 lines of force, and here the image of Horus. Horus is the initiate ascending, and he is met by the greater falcon. So of Capricorn it is said, the perfect example of the influence of Capricorn, head and heart are perfectly balanced. Capricorn admits the soul into conscious participation of the life of that world center we call hierarchy. Yes, interesting that both Saturn and Mars, which are considered two very difficult planets, malefic planets, although there are no really malefic planets, but two very difficult planets are the rulers of two signs that admit into the hierarchy. Capricorn is ever the sign of the constellation, of the conclusion, and of this the mountaintop is frequently the symbol, for it marks the point beyond which further ascent in any particular life cycle is not possible. So it's a sign of what's called, by the Tibetan, these are all quotes by the Tibetan here, periodic arresting, a sign of periodic arresting. So we don't have time for everything right now, but you will be able to get these. We'll prepare them for you, and then you can simply have the images. If you haven't already downloaded them, you can have the images, and you can have what Francis has said. In the other image, which is from the next year, it's the ascending, going through the gate of Capricorn to the Gompa, which is the place in which we symbolically meet the Master. And from that place we can see a still higher mountain, which to which our first ascent appears as but a hill. So the later initiations are visible. And you know how Master DK asks us to, well, meet him in his house. At one point his little house is described, and to align behind him and look through the window and to say the great invocation together. It's one of those psycho-imagistic exercises he gave to his disciples to give them the feeling of unity and to bring them all into his influence in an invocative manner. So this is the ascent lies before every one of us. We are always ascending, and it gets perhaps a little more difficult as we go along. And Master Hilarion has told us in the Light on the Path that it's possible to fail and to fall back at even a very high state of attainment. Well, you know, we read of relative failures of planetary logoi. So always we are being tested, always. And we have to have our full concentration, our full focus, and live at the requisite point of tension. Capricorn has so much to do with the diamond soul, you know, the inner heart of fire, the sevenfold inner heart of fire with 8 radiations at the very center of the egoic lotus. Because Capricorn in many ways is not just the pyramidal sign, it's the diamond sign, the sign of the diamond, and each of us has to ascend to the point where we become a fully revealed diamond soul. And perhaps that happens just before the 4th initiation, when the egoic, the jewel in the lotus is fully revealed. So These signs, they are very exacting. The last three signs, they universalize the consciousness, and Capricorn is really the beginning of that, and our ascent into the impersonal life. We see all of the lesser vehicles in their proper proportion as elemental lives, and we identify differently than with them, as we so often have done in our many, many lives. So I think with those thoughts in mind and these wonderful illustrations depicting the possibilities of initiation, we are ready to begin our pre-full moon meditation work, moving towards tomorrow at where we begin at 9:30 in the morning GMT for the meditation service, which will include the exact moment of the full moon. Right, and I had that written someplace where it is, but it's something like, well, I'll find out for you. It's after 11 o'clock GMT. As a matter of fact, maybe the best way for me to do that, is to go into Solar Fire and go here. It's a wonderful program, and I would strongly suggest it. Anyway, it's at 11:11 and 26 seconds in the morning, 11:11:26 GMT. For some of you, that will be in the very early morning, of course, and for others later in the day. And for some, at a reasonable hour, which is so unusual. Okay. So at 11:11:26 a.m., the actual full moon in Capricorn on Christmas Day. Okay. So I'll get rid of this and we'll go into our meditation. Okay, friends. We're not quite almost though, within the 12-hour period before the full moon. Not quite. A little ways to go, another 3 hours or so before we're in the 12-hour preceding period. So we're still in the day of, should we say, dedication. And then we enter the day of holding, safeguarding, receiving, and holding, to be followed by our distribution of the energies we have received. This is a time of all solemnity. If you ever were going to feel yourself to be in a state of solemnity, of the utmost seriousness with respect to the spiritual energies and the utmost concentration, these Capricorn energies induce that. So, we achieve a degree of comfort for our meditation, alertness, but still a kind of comfort that does not call attention to the dense physical vehicle. And we begin our abstraction. All of us related to each other in different continents and places are still together on the higher planes. And we will realize this the more we withdraw from identification with the outer physical etheric man. And we disidentify from our desires, our emotions, our feelings, our attractions, our repulsions. And we pull still further back. Sometimes we think we are the mind, but really it's our instrument. We are the observer of the mind, observer of the emotions, observer of the physical and vital states, the observer. And that observer ultimately is life itself. The volatile essence which always finds escape and freedom from the fields with which it had been identified. Even one day the whole universe, seen as a field of identification, escape will come at the ultimate universal pralaya. But if we escape from the ring pass knot of the personality, we do enter the field of the egoic lotus and of the, if we can reach out to each other unitively, entering the field of the group, egoic lotus, and we find ourselves all, however separated we may seem to be part of one thing on the higher mental plane. We are in a kind of spiritual intimacy with each other on the higher mental plane, having dropped away so many of those factors which contribute to separation of one human being from another. So we have a deep sense together of the group soul, the group being, the group consciousness. We are one being. And we are, if we could realize it, one consciousness, using a number of perceptual apparatus. And in this state of knowing ourselves, feeling ourselves to be one group soul, we reach out to the members of the new group of world servers. We reach out in soul, not in personality so much. There in the various countries, serving their fellow human beings, we are one in soul with these thousands, an ever-growing number. Wherever they are, there is no separation between us and them, because the soul is one. And there is no my soul or thy soul. All the men and women of goodwill, all the positively thinking people, all are included in this one soul, this group soul intending positively for the good. All inspired, if they could but realize it, by the will to good. works out as goodwill or love in action. Our solidarity is evident, even though personally we don't know each other. But on the plane of soul we meet. And that really goes for all human beings, in the body, out of the body, the good, the bad, relatively speaking. No human being excluded, everyone included. And of course it will extend beyond the human kingdom, of course. But every human being as part of this one soul, which we realize when we are in the state of soul. Whatever face it may be that comes before your eyes, that being is in the one being, is the one being, and is part of the one consciousness. And so it is really true that there is one soul of humanity. Really only one soul in all the universe. But we will keep to, what we can somewhat understand. That there really is no my soul or thy soul, but only the soul. And the ancient mantra is true, upon which one can meditate a little bit every day. Naught is but me. Naught is but me. It's profound, and if we could ever really grasp what that is, our lives would change entirely. It's all only one being, Naught is but me. It has to be felt in the heart. In the heart and the head. And eventually in the egoic lotus, and finally realized more precisely in the monadic sphere. Naught is but me. Here we are as a group meditating. The rainbow bridge for each one of us as we are building it will take us into the higher worlds where the masters are now polarized, where their point of tension exists. And eventually the group Rainbow Bridge, the group Antikarana, will take the group into the ashram and polarized within the worlds of the triad. So each one of us as if sees this dual-colored bridge, our soul ray, and our personality ray, two colors, reaching up into the higher worlds. Not really up, of course, but symbolically up. When we imagine up, it creates those conditions in our consciousness which are desirable. We could as well imagine in. First ray red, second ray indigo blue, third ray green, fourth ray yellow, fifth ray orange, sixth ray silvery rose, seventh ray violet. These are useful colors, and there are others that can be used, but a two-colored bridge for each one of us. Soul ray and personality ray. reaching, as it were, up into the spiritual triad, the abstract mind and its monastic permanent atom, the Buddhic sphere, which will be in intensive process of organization after the third degree, and the Buddhic permanent atom, and the atmic sphere of spiritual will, and the atmic permanent atom gaining in strength as we understand the nature of will and move towards the fourth and fifth initiations. And that rainbow bridge symbolically and eventually actually touches and is absorbed into the monadic blue-white diamond. We can symbolize it as the blue-white diamond on the monadic plane. Just think of this bridge of light touching these areas of our higher nature. And all of us together, we weave the group, Antikarana, the many colors, all the colors, woven together, cone-like. It's one way of thinking of it. Reaching up into the triad and beyond into pure being itself. So what we'll do, with that sense that we're all building this bridge together, we will use the second ray word of power, I see the greatest light. We'll sound the Om 3 times. We'll project along our own individual Antikarana a beam of pure white light towards the highest point of the cone. And as we sound the outer Om, we will think to ourselves, affirm to ourselves, I see the greatest light. And this will open the door to impression for us. Together as a group we can see more, and we can converge upon this field of unfettered enlightenment where the greatest light resides, and it will bring illumination, greater illumination to us and to our groups and to all those whose lives we touch. It is our goal to focus one day on the same levels as those on which the Masters now focus. The levels of the spiritual triad. We are their co-workers in a much lesser degree, of course. And so we imagine, we think of them, especially the Masters that are working most closely with humanity and whose names and offices we somewhat understand. We will offer our salutations as co-workers to the Great Ones. We will stay in our alignment, and Imagine that our consciousness is permeated by the kind of light, the kind of love and power that this alignment can bring. And we will offer our salutations. So the first, inwardly and with heartfelt gratitude as a group, we offer our salutations to the Masters and to the head of the hierarchy of the Christ, whom we visualize as we wish to do. Salutations to the Christ, the Master of all Masters. Salutations to the triangle of masters with whom we most closely work, the Master M, KH, DK. These are particularly the masters who have sought to bring the ageless wisdom closer to humanity at great sacrifice to themselves. Salutations to the Master Morya, the head of all esoteric schools and organizations. Salutations to the Master Kuthumi, whose ashram on the second ray is most responsible for preparing for the reappearance of the Christ, the Lord, Maitreya. Salutations to the Master Jwalkul, GK, who has given us the blue books and whose task especially is to train the aspirants for initiation. Salutations to your own Master as you know him to be or conceive him to be. Salutations to the entire spiritual hierarchy of our planet, with which we hope to cooperate usefully, effectively. Then, as a group and imaginatively, we raise our thought to Shambhala, however we may conceive it, the center where the will of God is known. And with deepest reverence and in all humility, and always identified as a group soul, we attempt to attune to the presence of Sanat Kumara, standing at the center of Shambhala, the one initiator and the greatest example of the teaching ray upon our planet, the king of Shambhala. At this time, when the first ray also was very strong, coming through Capricorn as it does, we will attempt to attune to group purpose, to the purpose of humanity and to the purpose of the planetary manifestation, all held in the consciousness of Sanat Kumara, an emanation of the planetary logos. The earth is to become a sacred, lighted sphere, a sacred planet. The great theme of light is meant to work itself into manifestation. And so, with a sense of this purpose, or seeking to respond to it, we will sound an inner, silent, long Om, pledging ourselves to receive and execute this purpose as may be possible in our groups and also individually. May whatever we can receive of this higher purpose, may it guide our lives. And so we are attuned now to the highest within our nature. It descends all the way into our personalities via the monad and the soul. And we stand with solidarity with the Masters of the Wisdom, and thus are ready to begin our approach to the planetary and solar and constellational energies. So let us imagine that we all come together in this alignment at a point of tension. All of us consolidated into one point of presence, one point of tension, one point of consciousness. And our power to penetrate, to enter, grows at this point of tension together. We are as if hovering above the golden path which leads into the indigo sphere, the great secondary symbol, and our logos is the blue logos. And in this sphere we will meet imaginatively the presence of Master DK, who will, as it were, be our guide in our approach to these higher energies, as he is such an expert in these energies. So together, as one being and one consciousness, we move along the shortening golden pathway as it retracts into the indigo sphere, as it shortens and shortens, until imaginatively we find ourselves within the indigo sphere. And in the presence of the consciousness of Master DK, and may we become as if an outpost of his consciousness, of his understanding, of these energies we seek to approach. We seek, of course, to align with the energy stream coming from the two planetary rulers of Capricorn, Saturn. We can visualize that great planet being both the exoteric and esoteric ruler, and conveying to us something we much need, the discipline to honor all life's duties and karmic requirements, and eventually conferring upon us the resolve to live according to the 7 laws of the soul. Thus fulfilling individually and as a group our specific individual and group dharma within the divine plan. And we will, of course, approach Venus as well. It's the hierarchical ruler, and one day it will convey the full illumination of the world of souls, individually and to us as a group. We will become the transfigured individual. We will also become the transfigured group, just as the hierarchy is the transfigured group. And so let us approach individually the planets individually. The power of Saturn. We ponder on this, especially first the exoteric rulership of Capricorn, This is the planet of opportunity. Some may wonder how, because it's so tough and seems to deny certain possibilities rather than offer them, but it is spiritual opportunity rather than strictly personal opportunity. So this planet helps us bring ourselves and the group into alignment with karmic law through the exercise of spiritual responsibility. We realize that the fulfillment of our responsibilities and later group responsibilities is one of the first indications that one is truly living one's life in the three worlds under the influences of the soul. Soul influence works out as responsibility, realized, appreciated, executed. So we look at how we fulfill responsibility in our individual life, and if anything is missing there, are there tasks for which we are responsible which have not yet been fulfilled? This is so needed. We sometimes think that when something is pleasant and feels uplifting that it's the soul talking. But really, as DK tells us, that still small voice speaks in terms of responsibility. And this is a hard lesson perhaps, but one which we all must learn. And so we feel that sense of the Saturnian energy strengthening us in our resolve to be responsible and to fulfill every last requirement, fulfill then our dharma after fulfilling our karma, and to do so without complaint, without self-pity. And then, if we manage to do so, the second level of Saturn will be presented to us to align us with the divine plan, not just our karma, not just our vocation, but a role within the divine plan, and ensuring that we fulfill individually and in our group what the divine plan requires. And this will require sacrifice. So we individually and in our group will learn the meaning of voluntary sacrifice, The sacrifice petals of the egoic lotus will open their energies to us, not just the involuntary sacrifices forced upon us by the divine will to good, but something more, voluntary sacrifice. And it will be animated by the source of spiritual will, which will become our will. Spiritual will emanating from the Atmic plane. And this is the plane ruled by Saturn, who is the instrument of the solar systemic Lord Brahma within our solar system. So we will do whatever is required of us. What is required? This energy of Saturn flows into our group. It strengthens us to fulfill our karma. It strengthens us to fulfill our dharma and to align with the divine plan and to allow the spiritual will to become our own individual will, our own group will. And we'll sound on the third ray note of Saturn, the Om, and feel ourselves in the group and individually strengthened by the austerity required by Saturn. If we're ever going to get a hold of ourselves as souls in relation to our personalities, it's under Saturn and Vulcan that we will do this. So we all know that this time of year, with the new year coming, is the time of resolve. We will to do certain things undone, needing to be done. We resolve, using our will and increasingly our spiritual will aligned with the divine plan. So let Saturn take its proper place in our lives. And then our movement is towards Venus, a closer planet, a planet of great accomplishment, younger than Saturn and younger than Jupiter and Neptune and Uranus, but evolving so rapidly, just as the Christ has evolved more rapidly than any of his fellow human beings. And this is a planet with a fifth-ray soul, but having a sixth ray and ultimately a second ray monad or spirit, very connected with the heart center of our solar logos, but also with his solar plexus center. And it bestows upon us and our groups a quality of pure spiritual love. And helps us bring that love into union with luminous spiritual knowledge. We see fifth ray and seventh ray, or second ray, the union of the heart and the mind. And this is bringing us into the supernal light upon the mountaintop. The secret of the soul is revealed in Capricorn, and Venus is a strong part of that revelation, helping the full solar angelic energy to be released as much as may safely be done into the personality, the soul-infused personality, receiving a great flow of solar angelic energy under the inspiration of Venus in Capricorn. We ponder on what that might mean to us. Because every one of us is supervised by a great solar angel whose true place is within the council of the solar logos. And each one of us in our groups can be illumined and filled with spiritual love. And thus enter the light sublime, the supernal light. And this is so much our objective as students of spiritual occultism, that the angel and the man shall become one. And we shall rise to the feet of the solar angel, and it will be liberated to return to the heart of the sun, and we will become, as it were, our own solar angel, as initiates of the fourth degree. It lies ahead. But we can come into greater and greater rapport with this Christ principle, this Venusian principle within our nature. So let that Venusian energy flow into our group and groups and into our individual self. And Venus will conquer Mars, and the soul will conquer the Martian personality. And we will enter into the greater light. And so as that light and love flow in, we will sound on a fifth ray note, a Venusian note, the Om, and see the beneficial changes occurring in our group and groups and within our own individual self. Very great light. And all of these gifts of the planetary logoi are really gifts of the great solar logos, the logos of love wisdom, the heart center. That's a heart center in our local cosmic logos. The love wisdom, we are all bathed in the love wisdom of the solar logos. It's the major ray, second ray. And at this time when the Christ energy is so prominent, we are reminded of the beautiful unifying power of the second ray. And we visualize it pouring into all the planets and into the earth and through our spiritual self and our soul or conscious self and into our personality, especially into the heart center. And we know that somehow we have our home within the sun and within this great indigo ray. Our solar logos, a second ray personality, a second ray soul, and ultimately a second ray monad. The great love that we feel at Christmas time, it's a solar love mediated by the Christ into all humanity. And we realize ourselves to be solar beings. Expressions of the great solar logos, living the solarized life. That's what we wish to do. Ever into the sun, and finally, one day, into the stars themselves, and towards great constellational lords who need solar logoi as their chakras. Capricorn is a brilliant constellation, powerful, vast. The constellations are not all equally evolved. The lords are not equally evolved. Just as the lords of the planets are not equally evolved, just as the human beings are not equally evolved, though one in essence. And Capricorn The Lord of the constellation Capricorn is highly evolved among the constellational lords. It gives us a certain type of light, the light of initiation, whereby we can always penetrate into a new sphere with an expanded ring pass knot, with new energies available and new potencies of which we are capable. This is the light, says Master DK, which clears the way to the mountain top. The light which clears the way to the mountain top and produces transfiguration, thus revealing the rising sun. That rising sun is not just the soul. That rising sun is the spirit, is the monad. What a powerful light this is, the light of initiation, the destiny of each and all of us and of our groups. So we will focus now our imagination on the constellation Capricorn. It's the goat, or more spiritually the unicorn. Maybe you've seen it in the night sky. It's a vast triangular constellation. And we attempt to feel the energy of this constellation, bringing us the first, the third, the seventh ray, power, intelligence, and order, but principally at this time, the seventh ray. And so much associated at this time with the will that conquers death. Just imagine that constellation. The will that conquers death. The light of initiation, clearing the way to the mountaintop, whatever that mountaintop may be for any of us. Every disciple is being prepared for initiation, whatever the mountaintop may be. And ever ascending are the mountain peaks, all the way to the ninth, and beyond in a new system of initiation. So, in the silence, we will ponder the mantram of Capricorn, whatever it may mean to you. Lost am I in light supernal, yet on that light I turn my back. Lost am I in light supernal, yet on that light I turn my back. Lost am I in light supernal. Yet on that light I turn my back. Although we may feel the urge to pass into the great light, we revolve upon the pedestal of light and turn the other way. And then the 7 points of light within us transmit the outward streaming radiance. And lo, the face of those upon the darkened way receives that light. For them the way is not so dark. Behind the warriors, twixt the light and dark, blazes the light of hierarchy. Every form veils and hides the light. The form is light, condensed, consolidated light. This is the light that reveals the spirit which we all are. Standing in the unity of soul, revealing the one spirit, the one identity, the one monad. Lost am I in light supernal. Yet on that light I turn my back. turn away from the great light which has become all things, and instead I aid the things, the beings, the existences which the light has become. Lost am I in light supernal, yet on that light I turn my back. And this pondering can intensify in our lives as we move towards the moment of the full moon on Christmas Day for most. 11 and 26 seconds a.m. tomorrow. See if we can see the light everywhere, and that all things veil and hide the light, and that all things are condensations of the light, and that all things are one thing in the supernal light. As Hermes said, the only one thing which the light reveals. The light that we use comes from the one about whom naught may be said, whose crown center may well be the Pleiades, and the jewel in that crown, the 7 Pleiades particularly. And then the heart and the head center, the zodiac itself. And now we're talking about Capricorn as one of those petals. And that light will involve the great dragon, Draco, with its cosmic kundalini, connected with the 7th ray. And the light will flow on to our local 7 solar systems, of which ours is one, and into our solar logos and his sun, being the heart center of that cosmic logos, and on to Saturn and to Venus, particularly this light of Capricorn, and from thence to our planet and into Shambhala, into the hierarchy, and thus involving all of us as monads and souls, and into our personalities, and into every jewel of every chakra, but especially into the jewel in the head center, animating other chakras, but carrying this 1st ray, 7th ray power of initiation, Upon the path of initiation, the first and seventh rays are the major rays, and in Capricorn also. Anchoring in the base of the spine. Really an amazing alignment ultimately between the one about whom naught may be said, the thousandfold Pleiades, and the base of the spine, finally, of each and every disciple, and especially disciple becoming initiate. This alignment lies before us. This Capricorn energy of elevation, it rules the law of elevation, the law of group progress. It is so needed in the world. Everywhere we can look, we see people living a life lower than it should be, for the most part. And they need to rise. They need to ascend their particular mountaintop, whatever it may be, whatever the achievement may be, they need to ascend. So let us each choose a place on earth, a sphere, where the Capricorn energy is really needed. See it flowing in through Saturn and Venus and the rays associated, 1, 3, 5. See those rays, those colors, that energy flowing into the situation, bringing elevation, responsibility, fulfillment of karma, a greater perspective. Each visualizing in his own way now improvement and elevation in some problem area of the earth. The secret of the soul is revealed in Capricorn. So however small the ascent, we all must, everyone, rise a little bit toward the soul energy. And I'm going to use a seventh ray note now, the note B, the color violet, and the major seventh ray, which Capricorn distributes, and we will see some sort of rising in an area of difficulty for humanity as we sound the Om 3 times. And as we sound the great invocation together, we realize how much humanity is in need of the light, the love, and power which this invocation enunciates. So with all the power of the Christ energy which we can absorb, and with the first ray, third ray, and seventh ray coming through Capricorn, and especially the magical seventh ray bringing heaven to earth, and with the responsible power of Saturn and the beautiful power of Venus, we think of all of these infusing this great invocation, which we say together as a group, followed by 3 ohms on the second ray note, G. So then, wherever you are and aloud where you are, you sound the great invocation. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. So friends, 2 events coming up, the exact full moon, and we'll begin at 9:30 tomorrow morning GMT, and at 11:11 and 26 seconds we'll have the exact full moon, and then there'll be a musical meditative broadcast of the Capricorn Solar Fire ritual, if all goes well technically. And that will be at 2:30 a.m. GMT on the 26th. For some of you it'll be later Christmas Day, for some of you it'll be the second day of Christmas, and the links for both of those events will be found in your chat box, and I probably mailed them to you anyway. If you don't have the links and you need them, just write me infinitize8@gmail.com. Wait, I'll write that out for you if you don't have my email, infinitize8@gmail.com, and I'll send you the links if you don't have them. And I hope you've all been able, maybe some people have had a few technical problems. I get that sense that it's possible, but just write in the chat box to Brett or to Joe or to Kay, and they can communicate with you during these and try to straighten out any reception problems you have. Okay, so now we have about a little more than 12 hours until the full moon. Intensify this energy, whether you're awake, in which case it's easier, or if you're asleep, and maybe not quite as easy. Just intensify the energy as we move towards it, and let us truly understand the meaning of the world as light and serving that condensed light. Lost am I in light supernal, yet on that light I turn my back. We'll see you soon. All the best. Intensify your point of attention as you move towards the full moon. Lots of love. See you then. Bye-bye.